Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So, today we're going to continue the series, the Unported Playlist, where I take a look at some of my favorite unported arcade games of all time. And today, if you can't tell already, you did click on the thumbnail after all. We're playing Air Trix on the Sega Hikaru board. More specifically, we're using Demul emulation because it just recently updated, and now we can actually play this game from start to finish with not many issues whatsoever. And trust me, even though this was a giant amusement cabinet with a plastic skateboard to stand on, you're going to have a lot of fun here with the standard controller. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But it's absolutely great that something like Air Trix now emulates near to perfectly, because trust me, you're not going to see this arcade cabinet many places out in the world anymore. And I've talked about this at length on the channel in different videos. These gigantic amusement cabinets were one of the reasons why arcades were popular back in the day, and they still exist as far as those big giant cabinets you can stand on in 2026. And even though Air Trix is a fun game, just think about how much abuse those cabinets would take. You have a plastic skateboard with basically analog potentiometers in there to see how the board is moving. People are going to beat that thing like it owes them money and ride it like a government mule. And unfortunately that means these things are always prone to breaking, and if the cabinet becomes unprofitable for the actual operator, when it breaks the next time, it's just going to end up in the recycling bin. So unfortunately that makes Air Trix an incredibly rare cabinet. But the nice thing is, with Demul and setting it up properly with analog, you can get a really good approximation of what it's actually like to skateboard and stand on the arcade cabinet, because you're going to flick the analog stick left and right, up and down, to basically articulate what you would think you would be doing as far as a skateboarding trick is concerned. And it's actually quite impressive, and it has a good feel as to how well that does work. Now in real life I can skateboard okay. I can do a kickflip here and there, but one of those things that's basically as good as I got. I would never drop into a ramp this big, although in real life and skiing back in the day, a half pipe being 15-20 feet above the deck would not feel unnatural to me whatsoever. But then again, skis have bindings, they don't leave your feet, whereas skateboard definitely disconnects, and that's where I think I kind of got really confused back in the day. And even though I've been skiing for forever, was a coach at the X Games and the Olympics, snowboarding is one of those things I cannot do it whatsoever. I've never understood the blindside turn. I do not like to basically just lean back into nothing, but skiing switch down the mountain is still something, not an issue whatsoever, but then I can just kind of alternate how I look over my shoulder, which has nothing to do with Air Trix whatsoever, but kind of one of those things. Playing this game on an arcade cabinet gave me a sensation pretty close to actually riding on a skateboard, and that's definitely something that you get out of Air Trix. And I just love how incredibly easy it is to pick up and play this game, but how incredibly hard it is to master it. You're basically trying to collect these coins. Every single trick is going to give you some, and the more you chain together, the higher your score is going to get. And really, at the end of the day, this game is nothing more than a score attack game. You want to get your name on the top of the leaderboard. You want to score that S ranking, because you'll be getting a letter grade here, depending on how well you perform. You'll see there, I just went into the B territory. Had I not fallen a few times, I definitely would have been at least at A, but it's one of those things, you gotta practice at Air Trix to get better at it. Leave me a comment down below and you tell me, did you ever play an Air Trix cabinet back in the day? I saw one once, and I think it was in Vail, Colorado, when I was out there for the US Free Skiing Open. Definitely threw a couple quarters in, but I haven't seen one since. And it's one of those things, at this point in time, if this cabinet was completely extinct, I would not be surprised, but every time I ask that question, somebody says they just saw one last week, gives me a location, and shockingly, that's exactly where it is. That is the fun part about talking to an audience. You guys have thousands upon thousands of sets of eyes and experiences out there, so you may know where there is an Air Trix cabinet right now that I do not know about. And trust me, this is not the type of thing that you would want to collect as a bare PCB. Trying to get all the analog inputs wired in would be an exercise in just straight up driving yourself nuts, which means it's probably exactly the type of thing I would do if I could find a working Hikaru board that would actually run the game. Let's go to the first soundtrack sample, because it's got some classic Sega vibes going on here as far as the music is concerned. But come back, I'll talk more about Hikaru emulation and more about the other games that Sega made that basically have this same premise. But enjoy the music, and I'll be right back with a lot more skateboarding.
This is the special stadium with lots of ramps and lots of gaps in between them. Use them all and have fun. Ready, go! Spin attempt! Hit it! Is that on purpose? Yes! Oh, that one did not work. Yes! Oh, that's disappointing. Here's a spin! Spin attempt! Gosh! Oh, no good.
It's not the best music Sega ever made, but I'm glad it's not licensed music because it makes it a lot easier to do the soundtrack samples in this one. And I love this overall ramp structure here. Don't think I've ever seen anything quite like it in real life, but being able to jump up and down is fun. And you definitely get more speed the more tricks you complete correctly. You'll see here we have that actual spin trick, and you definitely want to basically have that board pointing straight down if you actually want to get speed. Which interestingly, in real life, if you're in a half pipe, at least in skiing, you wouldn't want to hit it basically parallel. You'd want to have your skis at maybe 15 degrees pointing down the half pipe so you could carry that speed in. But of course, this is a video game. I don't expect Sega to be able to understand exactly all of that. So it's one of those things that makes enough sense here. But honestly, I just really love this game, and I love that Sega was always doing stuff like this. They had Top Skater back on the Sega Model 2, which is basically the same concept, except it wasn't in half pipes. It was basically doing a downhill sort of thing. But I would say Air Trix is definitely the better realized version of a skateboarding game in arcades, because Top Skater is fun, but maybe a little bit weird on the overall course layout. So you'll see here you get multiple options for the skateboarders, and honestly, this little kid there, Tony, probably definitely trying to actually ape off Tony Hawk, is going to be the best skater. He's kind of easy mode in some way. You get a tutorial on how to understand how to play the game, and then you get two different stages, A as well as B. And that's probably why this game never actually came home to home consoles, because 1, the control scheme was not set up for a controller whatsoever, and 2, the game can basically be experienced from start to finish in under 6 minutes. So that's definitely something, even on Dreamcast or GameCube, had it come there, you wouldn't really get a lot of gameplay for your money, and I'm sure Sega realized was not worth making more courses just to try to sell this thing as a home console conversion. And considering the Sega Hikaru hardware is so delicate and breaks if you so much as look at it the wrong way, it really isn't surprising that there's not that many Air Trix cabinets out in the world. Because basically what happened is, when they actually manufactured Hikaru, they didn't tin one end of the actual hardware when they were doing the ball grid array chips, and it is very susceptible to getting hit or bumped or vibration and those chips falling off. And you know what vibrates and jiggles around a shit ton? An arcade cabinet where you stand on a skateboard and basically pretend you're skateboarding. That is going to be absolutely not good for the Hikaru hardware, and I'm sure at least more than one cabinet broke just based upon people mistreating those controllers. Because sadly it's still that sort of thing today in 2025 and 2026, depending on when I upload this video. I'm giving you both years, that people in arcades, especially kids, just treat those things like they're absolutely trying to break them. This hardware was definitely never made for longevity, and that's why, again, most of these games that you see on imported playlists just don't really exist out in the world anymore. But I'm glad that you can emulate Air Trix, and again, once you get the analog set up, you really do feel like you can actually play this almost like you're on a skateboard. And I'm sure there's probably some weird world out there where we could mod something like a Wii Fit balance board to work with this, or even the Tony Hawk controller, but that might be a little bit more work than I want to do to play 6 minutes worth of Air Trix. Let's do one more soundtrack sample, because again, Sega always had some fun music. I really like the sound effects in this one, but come back, I'll finish out the video and tell you a little bit more about Sega and Hikaru.
Nope. Try it again. Spin attempt. Spin attempt. Is this a spin? Is this a spin? Spin attempt. No problem. Spin. Oh, man. Too bad. Ready, go. Got it! Is this a spin? Oh, look out! Time up. Your grade is C. You are so
Beat
dope.
down. Know what I'm saying?
So yeah, again, some decent music and some really fun gameplay, and I really wish Sega had done more with the Hikaru hardware. They're basically playing around in almost every single genre here, but I would love to have seen something like a House of the Dead entry on this, because it's basically a more powerful Dreamcast or NAOMI on the CPU side of things, and on the actual video hardware, it is custom bespoke silicon. So you get Air Trix, you get 2 racing games, you get Planet Harriers and Virtual On, as well as Brave Firefighters. But there is a lot more life in this hardware. It was just extremely expensive to manufacture, and basically even back in the day when it was new, it was having reliability issues. No surprise there, so Sega just moved back to NAOMI and then made NAOMI 2. But again, if you know where there's an Air Trix cabinet, leave me a comment down below. I'd love to see one again once in my life. But for everyone else, you can use Demul emulation and play this game from start to finish and have fun, and it definitely is worth doing. But I'll see you guys next time. Hope you enjoyed the video. Bye-bye.